What is up, boys and girls? So we are on to some work on this Zcar. So preliminary, whatever. I set the heights on the car. So basically, I've been around the car, set it off my floor height, so I know where the ride heights are because that's what the chap wanted. So we know that up to there, 8 inches, 8.5. That there to the tyre is 65 off the floor. I don't know whether it was luck for him, but that one was 65 off the floor, off the tyre, sorry. So I've got, there you go. I've got an idea now of where the car is sitting height-wise, because he doesn't want this low. So we have started to take it apart. Fuel tank came out, and you would not believe the amount of swarf that was in that tank. You're not going to see, but you're not going to see because honestly, I threw a lot of it out, but it's not going to come out the filter. The bottom of my, you're not really going to see it either, but the bottom of my drainage thing was like a bloody, no, Shimmer and Shine. I don't know whether anybody on here will know Shimmer and Shine. They're cartoon characters. Anyway, whoever did some work on the tank neglected to flush it. So I spent a lot of time getting the tank flushed. So I started working. So first of all, I'm going to fit the ball jump droppers from Endaf. Now these bottom arms weren't such a severe angle because they weren't flush because he's not running it low. But I'm still dropping them anyway because we need to get the suspension working in the right angles. So like if you look at this here, see how close this is? It actually catches. It's actually worn into the nut. Both sides, it's that close. And everything is just bound up. Same as what we had before. Everything's on an angle. Everything's tight. So we are first of all going to take the hubs off, give them a quick clean down, fit the ball joint droppers on the bottom. Then we have also got some of these. Now, rose joint, and this is called a turnbuckle. It's what I run on my booster. So we need to drill out these top arms so we can dial out the bump steer. I did a bit of a startup check, and at ride height, I had to re-centralise his rack because his rack wasn't central. Am I zoomed out? Yeah, well, I zoomed in. You know what? There we go. That's better, isn't it? So his rack wasn't central. So it's constantly trying to recorrect itself. You have to make sure your rack's central. You basically put it all together, count the turns. Or if you've got a proper rack, there's a little bung in the one side that you can screw or put an Allen key in, and it centers the rack. So centered the rack, gave a rough track because she was towing in. Rough track at like 0 to 20 minutes out, close enough. Then I jacked the car up 1 inch. Just 1 inch. I always do my bump steer 1 inch below travel, 1 inch above travel. 2 inches. If your car's lifting, if you're using more than 2 inches of travel, there's an issue anyway. In my opinion. You get me? So, within 1 inch of lift, there was 2 degrees of toe. Fuck, was it in, right? In. 2 degrees of toe in. So the wheel started to do this. Yeah, 2 degrees. Nearby hotspot. No. Cancel. I've just had a new phone and this phone keeps trying to touch it. So there's 2 degrees within 1 inch. And when I let it back down, that degree equivalented to about 8 mil. And this is just on the up. So when it goes on to compression, it's probably going to do the same. So this thing could technically have 4 degrees of bump within 2 inches, which is a lot. So we've also got to do the bump steer on it. He was really moaning about brakes. Well, for a start, these bolts were pretty loose. They weren't loose, but they could have been tighter. But if you look at his discs, can you see the heat spots? Yeah, there's heat spots in them. Where he's been, and that one, where he's proper been yonking on the brakes to try and get the thing to stop. Yeah, there's a little bit of a low spot there. I don't know if they feel really new discs. But, because if we look into his caliper, his pads are shiny as glass. Yeah? Now, the reason you have a grooved disc or a cut C disc like this is to resurface the pads. Yeah? And look how shiny that is. No wonder he has no brakes. They're like, literally, they feel like glass. That's what's giving the heat spots. So, I think these pads might go again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to strip these hubs off. Strip the hubs off, put the ball joint droppers on, and drill the top arms. All these kind of videos are already on my channel. If you just want to have a nosy through, get some idea. And I think I'm going to make new ones of these, because these, I had to make them on the other ones I've done. They're just really short. Yeah, so I might have to make new ones of them as well. But we shall see. Right then, I'll crack on with these and you can just watch, I suppose. Right, so hubs are off. And I don't know how this bloke ain't dead. Because he drove this car the first time from England to Ireland. And everything was loose. I mean, just over finger tight. One ball joint was really loose. So the ball joints are loose. You've got tie rods. This one's loose. This one's loose. The track rod ends were loose. This one was barely in. This top ball joint is way too tight. Way too ridiculous. So that's going to need reshimming. I'm like, this is why you got to nut and bolt your cars, people. Nut and bolt check your cars when you're building them. He did mention that when he went for MOT, there was a lot of stuff that was loose. Well, when your caliper bolts are loose, your hub ball joint bolts are loose, you really need to start nut and bolt and checking your car. So, once it's tightened up, it should drive better. Because he said the problem is, it's really twitchy. Well, if every part has got even 1/10 of a mil, you know what I mean? That all adds up over the whole car. You may not hear it knocking because it's such a small percentage, but over everything, it adds up. So, anyway, these are the new style of Owens fabrication ball joint droppers. These have got the hex, is that hexagon? Yeah, the 6-sided anyway. So we're going to chuck them in the bottom, and I'm also going to check the shimming on all 4. This one felt quite nice, I'm not going to lie. Maybe a touch tight on the top, but it's movable. Yeah. Bottom, really nice. Oh shit, oh fuck. That was close, nearly hit my toe. The bottom, I know the bottom's nice. So the bottom, it's definitely new. Hear it? So we'll have a play with that one as well. So yeah, I'm going to get these done. And then I'll get back to you. It's really simple. There's videos on my page. I don't really need to say it's okay. It's literally just unbolt that on. But if you look at the videos on my page, you'll see how I torque them up and make sure I think they're at the right poundage. Right, see you in a bit. What is up, people? Right, where were we? It has actually been weeks waiting for parts, been doing racing, not racing, but stuff, busy, blah blah. So, car has progressed a little bit, not much, but I'll show you where we are and what we've done and what we waited for and what to check on yours. So, where were we? Ball joint droppers are on. Yeah. All of this is tightened up now. Let me do this a bit. Yeah. So there was a lot of issue with this car where everything was just loose, ran loose for way too long. I haven't cleaned the pads up yet. New steering rack. So we've actually gone for a standard rack. I can't know what you're going to see. So this is a standard rack. We've took off the 2.2 because I just don't like them. So this is a standard rack. I don't know whether you'll see. Remember I was on about there's a little black bung for centralising the steering. Can you see it there? So that is how you centralise the rack. So rack on, all the columns centralised now. I did the bump steer. So that is how big the spacing is required for this car. So that's drilled out. That's a 10.9 grade 1/2 inch bolt, spacer and turnbuckle cut to size, 1/2 inch rose joint heavy duty. So that's done. All this has been done. The shock's been on and off quite a lot of times. We're still not finished yet on this location. So yeah, that's the main bits there done. But I took this off. Basically, I've had these shocks on, off, spring on and off. And I was getting ready to see if I can adjust this in any way. Because I was having an issue with, to get it, this car had like 0.5 degree caster on this side and 0 caster on that side. Now, Zcar states about 3 degrees. I don't think that's enough. I have set this to 4 degrees at the minute. But if I had the top set right, these rose joints were on their limit. And the tyre caught there. Oh, I've also made some rack limiters for it. They're in there. I made them myself because it's just easier for me to make them than order them off CAD. But you can get them off CAD for like 15 quid. But you just have to take the steering arm off, press it on, and then screw the steering arm back in. But anyway, I digress. If I move this back enough, the wheel was hitting there, even with the rack limiters, because this was moved so far back. So I put that back forward, and in the end, I took the second space. That's supposed to be a spacer either side of that rose joint. I moved them both to the back. We've still got clearance on the radius, so we're not damaging anything. So instead of moving the top arm back, I moved the bottom arm forward, and then the top arm is not so far back. And it also helped straighten the shot up for this coming up to here. Anyway, I took this rocker off. These. Yeah? And oh my God, these things, I've made some longer tie rods as well because these were too short. These are 40mm longer, 30mm for the dropper, and 10mm to come up the rose joint more. 5mm either side. Plus, I'm going to try and run the car about 5mm lower if we can. But anyway, took these off, and oh my God, whoever put these together at Zcar, 'cause I'm guessing it was them, made a meal of it. An absolute shamble meal of it. I've got a video on my other phone. I'll just send it over. I'll send it over and I'll add it in now, and you'll see these bearings in the rockers. Very notchy. And this is the better side. So I'm going to have a look at what these bearings are and see if we can get some. It's this that's making that squeaking noise, but on the other side. Right, get the work done. Yeah, it's actually damaged the alley a little bit in there. But it was definitely undersized. Because this bolt is the one that come out of it. And I had to hammer the bolt out. Now, it fits. It wouldn't go on there because it was compressed. So I'm going to have to measure this and measure that. And I'm guessing that's out of tolerance. How notchy. So these are the bearings that came out of it. And oh my days. That's full. It's notchy. That's seized. Notchy. Very notchy. But they look new. And I'll tell you what they did. This hole, the recess, was undersized. Now you've got to know when you're press fitting a bearing, there is called a slip fit, press fit, and there's another one, but I can't remember what it is. They had press fit the shit out of these, and it actually damaged the aluminium cast. I'll put a picture in. It had damaged the cast, but because they'd pressed these in a small hole, the bearings had locked up on the centre. Because it will compress. This will compress. These races are only thin. So this locked up onto the bearing, locked up onto there. So these were basically notchy as hell. And two of them were, one was completely seized both sides and one was really notchy. But now they are beautiful and clean and sweet. So I've stood here like an absolute peni, cutting it, recutting it, sanding it, measuring it, sanding it, measuring it. Because I was going to put them on the lathe, but it would have been so easy to take too much. So anybody who's got one of these, check this. Also, in between the two bearings is a spacer that was 0.75mm too long. And they'd pressed in on the outer race, which had pressed this up against the spacer that was too long, giving side load on a bearing. You did never want side load on a bearing. So I've sorted them out as well. Made new spacers for there because they were wrong, they didn't fit. Honestly, the Zcar is just, you just find one thing, find another thing, find another thing. So what I'm going to do now is throw a rocker back on and I'm going to see if I can straighten up the shock any more with moving this in. Because you know the issue with these, they're on a shear load, as in they bolt on like that with the bolt head here. They don't slot into anything. It's like that is a double shear. A single shear hasn't got this second side, so this has quite a lot of load on it anyway. So I'm going to chuck this one on, not this one. I'm going to chuck this one on, this side, more space than over there. And then we'll see if we can move it around, see if what we've done has helped in any way. Right then, I'll chuck this on first. So, what we got? Drop links in. Rocker on. And I think I can take about 5mm off that spacer, which is going to bring it in. But to do so, I'll then have to take some off this bolt and the nut, because when I'm full droop, that will hit that, and we can't be having that. And then that will help line the shocks up, because we've got 5mm in here. We can take 5mm off there, and that'll clear that, I think, then, both sides. But we're getting there. It's together, it's set at 65mm, and this thing is heavy. Well, it is heavy, but now it moves so easy. Honestly, pushing this thing around before was freaking, it was a chore. And I've still got to track up the rear. So I think I'm going to take them spacers back out and take 5mm off them. I think that will just ease, because it's better anyway. This is, you know, it's really close to being straight. But if we can get it a bit better, because it was like that. So just moving shit around moving the bottom arms forward, it's just aided that angle. So if I can take this top, it's hard to get a good, yeah, it's probably more accurate like that. If we can move that back, and it'll help alleviate a bit of stress off these joints. Oh, right. I'll take it back apart. I had to put both sides on, because when I put the one side on, it was an inaccurate representation of what was going on. So I'm going to rip them spacers out, chuck it in lathe, chop it off, put them back in. And obviously I've got to chop the bolts down, unless, no, I don't want to put the bolts through the way. So we've got to chop the bolts down and take a few mil off the nuts, because anyone knows a 1/2 inch nut is really quite deep. So we'll take a couple of mil off there. And yeah. Carry on. Right, so this is now set at the 65mm ride height the car was at originally. We have 5mm off there. I took 5mm off the bolt, still coming into the nylon, but I didn't have to trim the nut down. And now our drop links, the dog bone and the shocks are running quite true with the body. Do you know what I mean? Well, with the setup. So we've got a nice straight setup, which is going to run so much better, and no squeaking. Nothing. We got rid of the squeaks. So really tomorrow now, I mean, still settling the suspension, and I've left it, it's probably the right kind of pressure, to be honest, preload wise. So I've literally just took it off the jacks. So tomorrow now I should be able to nut and bolt check here, have a quick retrack, make sure the tracking is where we want it to be, and then fuel tanking. I've got to put a plug on his fuel pump, because his fuel pump was wired straight in. So I'm going to put a plug on his fuel pump, and I really need to look at this water leak, because it's a bit, just keeps leaking. And if there's water coming out, there's air going in. But that is something he can do at his end. So if we can get this right, then I'll throw the tracking gauge on the rear. And if the rear is about parallel, we'll go and see what she drives like. Can't drive it much because she's got a split CV boot on the back. I don't know which side, but I'd say to that one, because it looks wet. Because she's bloody, you know, they're like, it's a mass stupid drive shaft angle, which is why I lowered the diff on that Hayabusa one, to get rid of that. So yeah, hopefully we'll be test driving this tomorrow. He does want a new exhaust. He used to have one, and he had the twin cans here that comes across, up and across, because this is a bit loud. So he does want another exhaust, but that is not my forte. But I will pass him on to somebody who I know does exhaust, which is Mr. Bag Sport himself, Ben. Right, I think that is it for today. I'll probably try and get up here tomorrow. We'll finish putting this together. We'll see where she's sitting tomorrow with once it's settled. And we'll go from there, shall we? But yeah, looking much better. And all it's taken is a lot of faffing about. You know what I mean? You put hours and hours to getting this setup to work right. A standard front subframe is good. You know what I mean? But, you know, Zcar life. Right, catch you later. See you in the next one.